Chapter 2: The Computer. The aim of this chapter is to give the student a general view of the capability of typical computer systems insofar as they impact upon the user. This is obviously particularly relevant for students from a human science background, as they might be unaware of the basic components of computer equipment. However, many computer scientists are equally ignorant when it comes to the gross capability of standard systems. They might be able to tell you that a bubble sort is an order n2 algorithm, whereas quicksort is order and log n, but may have no idea how long a typical database would take to sort thousand records. Exercise 2.1. What is the basic architecture of the computer system? Answer. Some students might have done computer architecture course, but they should not give the stock answer for such a question in the context. Instead, they should be assessing the architecture from the point of view of the user. The material for this question is scattered through the chapter. However, the student should also be directed to Personal Computer magazine, where after an article we give them some idea of typical capabilities and costs. It might also prompt some question: just what is the difference to the user between 16 ms and 20 ms disk drive? The example answered below give the general style, although more detail would be expected of the full answer. In particular, the student should be encouraged to have a feel for capabilities either as ballpark figure or in terms of typical capability second of video page of text. Example: the basic architecture of the computer system consists of the computer itself with associated memory, input and output device for user interaction, and various forms of hard copy device. Note: the computer science answer regard output to the user and output to the printer as essentially equivalent. This is not an acceptable user-centered view. A typical configuration of user input or output device will be a screen with a keyboard for typing text and mouse for pointing and positioning. Depending on circumstance, different point device may be used, such as like pen, for more direct interaction, or a trackball, especially on portable computer. The computer itself can be considered as composed of some processing element and memory. The memory itself divided into short-term memory, which is lost when the machine is turned off, and permanent memory, which persists. Exercise 2.2. How do you think fast, high density memory device and quick processors have influenced recent development in HCI? Do they make system any easier to us? Do they expand the range of application of the computer system? Answer: arguably, it is not so much the increase in computer power as the decline in the cost of the power which has had the most profound effect. Because ordinary users have the powerful machine on their desktop, it has become possible to view that power as available for the interface rather than hoarded for number caching application. Modern graphical interaction consume vast amount of processing power and would have been completely impossible only a few years ago. There is an extent to which systems have to run faster to stay still. In that a screen size, resolution, and color range increase, so does the necessary processing power to maintain the same interaction. However, this extra processing is not really producing the same effect. Screen quality is still a major block on effective interaction. The increase in RAM mean the large program can be written effectively, allowing the program elbow room. This is used in two ways: to allow extra functionality and to support easier interaction. Whether the perform really improve usability is data debatable. Uses functionality is a good marketing point, but it's of no benefit to the user. The ease of the use of the system is often determined by host of small filters, such as a appropriate choice of the default option. This filter make the interface seem simple, but make the program very complex and large. Certainty of the availability of the elbow room, both in terms of memory and processing power, has made such filter possible. The increase in both short-term RAM and long-term disk and optical storage has also removed many of the arbitrary limits in the system. It is possible to edit documents of virtually unlimited size and to treat the computer suitably backup as one primary information repository. Some will not, some will new application area have become possible because of advance in memory and processing. For example, most application of multimedia, for example, voice recognition and online storage and capture of video and audio, require an enormous amount of processing and slash or memory. In particular, large optical storage devices have been the key to electronic document storage variably. However, documents are scanned and stored within a computer system. In some contexts, such systems have completely replaced paper-based filing cabinet. Exercise 2.3. What input-output device would you use for the following system? For each, compare and contrast alternative and, if appropriate, indicate why the conventional keyboard, mouse, and C R T screen may be less suitable. A. Portable word processor. B. Tourist information system. C. Tractor mounted drop screen controller. D. Air traffic control system. E. Worldwide personal communication system. F. Digital cartography system. Answer. Where the question 2.1 focus on a typical system, the emphasis here on the diversity of different devices needed for specialist purpose. During classes and practical, the student can be exposed to the wide variety of input and output device. They can also be encouraged to collect device that is to watch out for subtitles, bank teller, taximeter, lift button, domestic appliance. A. Portable word processor. The determining factor are size, weight, and battery power. However, remember the purpose. This is word processor, not an address book or even data entry device. LCD screen, low power equipment. trackball or stylus for pointing. A real keyboard. You can word process without a reasonable keyboard, and stylus handwriting recognizing is not good enough. Small, low power bubble jet printer. Although not always necessary to make the package and stand alone, it is probably not so unnecessary that the printer have large battery capacity, as printing can probably wait until the power point is found. B. Tourist information system. This is likely to be in a public place. Most users will only visit the system once, so the information and mode of interaction must be immediately obvious. Touchscreen only, easy, and direct interaction for the first time user. See also chapter 3. No mice or stylus use. In the public place they wouldn't say hello. See tractor mounted crop spraying controller. A hostile environment with plenty of mud and chemical require numerical input for flow rates, but probably not text. Touch sensitive keypad. Ordinary keypad will get changed up. Small dedicated LED display. LCD often can read in sunlight, and large screens are fragile. Again, no mice or stylus. They would get lost. The air traffic control system. The emphasis is on immediately available information and rapid interaction. The controller cannot afford to spend time searching for information. All frequently used information must be readily available. Several specialist display, including overlay of electronic information on radar, like pen or stylus, high precision direct interaction, keyboard for occasional text input, but consider making it fall out of the way. A worldwide personal communication system, basically a super mobile phone. If it's to be kept on hand all the time, it must be very light and the pocket size. However, to be communication system, one would imagine that should also act as a personal address slash telephone book. Standard telephone keypad, the most frequent use, small dedicated LCD display, low power specialist function, possible stylus for interaction. It allows relatively rich interaction with the address book software, but the little space. A docking facility. The system itself will be small for full-size keyboard, but you won't want would but you would not want to enter in all your address and telephone number by stylus. Digital cartography system. This calls for very high precision input and output facility. It is similar to chat in the term of the screen facility and printing, but in addition will require specialist data capture. Large, high-resolution color video, 20-inch or bigger. These tend to be enormously big from the back to front. LCD screen, although promising her thinner display in the long term, cannot at present be made large enough. Digitizing table for tracing data on existing paper maps. It could also double up as a pointing device for some interaction, possibly thumb well for detailed pointing at positioning tasks. Large format printer, indeed very large, and A2 or A1 plotter at minimum. Chapter 3. Interaction. Exercise 3.1. Choose two of the interaction style described in section 3.3 that you have experience of using the interaction framework to analyze the interaction involved in using this interface style for the database section task, which of the distance is greatest in each case. Answer. There is no single answer for this exercise, so pro- provide, provide an example of the style of the answer that is suitable and the level of analysis which appropriate. The student should be aware that although the, the term distance is used, we have no associate any real measure to any of the translation in the interaction framework. As a result, this analysis can only be informal, and at this point is mainly informed by the student intuition and experience with various interaction styles. As was stated in the section 3.2.3, assessment of any interaction with the interaction framework can only be relative to some tasks. For this example, we will choose a common database selection task, that of selection record from the online library database. The two interaction style we will analyze are natural language interface and command the line interface. The task is to select a set of reference from the library database that satisfy some search criteria. Once task has been formulated in the user task language, for instance, the user wants to see all the books written by Alan Dix since 1919. That task must be articulated in the input language. Natural language interaction style will allow the user simply to type in the section query exactly as they think of it. The articulation distance is small because it's both easily to articulate, possibly even easier if a spoken interface is provided rather than typing, and the coverage is total. The user is allowed to articulate anything as a query. On the other hand, for the command line interface, the limited vocabulary of the input language make it more difficult for the user to articulate tasks, even though the limit in language provide complete coverage in terms of possibly queries allowed. The real difficulty for the natural language interface is how the system translates input expression into the actual query that access the library record. This performance translation would be much easier for the command line interface, since it may not even require any translation of an input expression, that language having already been constructed with the database engine in mind. Therefore, we can see that for a natural language interface, the performance distance is great, whereas for a command line interface, it is articulation distance which are great. But the above analysis only rarely deal with the execution translation on the evaluation side. A natural language interface must try to the present the result of the database query in front which the user process the question. This could in general be difficult translation for the system, as it attempts to answer question in the style in which an arbitrary user has posed that question, having accomplished that the observation by the user should be easy to perform. For a command line interface, there is no granted that the result of the query will be automatically display, and the user may have been explicit to request a display, and they may have been expressed how the display be format. Neglecting the point, neglecting that point, presentation by the system is made easier is as the output language can vary constrained. Observation is made more difficult as the user must translate the output into the term of their original text formulation. For example, having asked for book by Alan Dix publisher after 1990, the user may have a difficult time locating another name, year of publication to determine if the resulting record matches their expectation. For evaluation, a natural language interface has greater presentation distance, and a command line interface a greater observation distance. In general, therefore, we would expect that a natural language interface will be easier from the user perspective but more difficult from the system builder perspective. The opposite should hold for a common language interface. There are some issues that we haven't addressed in this example, such as displaying a large set of the record that satisfy the query and being able to reuse the output of one query as the input to another to easily compare result. Since the performance translation is so difficult for a natural language interaction style, it is important for natural language interface to present the result of the query in such a way that the user able to determine if the system understood the original query in the way the user indeed. This would involve the presentation translation but reiterating the user query and the select record simultaneously. In our example, since the user was interested in the author and date of the publication dates after 1990, it would help if the information was prominently present in the result set. We also have not considered what effect experience with the system provide as users become more comfortable with the syntax and semantic of the common language. Its perceived difficulty will decrease. Also, a verbose natural language output could limit the number of records from a result set that could be displayed. The moral of the story is that despite their intuitive allure, such information analysis as suggested by this exercise cannot be last word on the analysis of an interactive system. Ultimately, our judgment must be made more precise and concentrate.